All right, so here was my thought on the Jokic trade. So now this I can't remember exactly when this trade happened, but it was early enough to where I don't think the Memphis was in the playoffs at that point. I know they ended right now they're in the eighth seed, but it was before they were in the eighth seed. And I'm pretty religious about reading. I go through the box scores every single night. I'm religious about it. I go through Roto World every single night. I've stayed up way too late, way too many times, checking box scores, checking Roto World, seeing who I want to pick up. It's probably been a
You
detriment in
sound
some
like
ways.
me. You
Gonna
sound
be
like me.
honest, but I love it. I eat it up. I just love the analysis of it. So I was just so convinced, and I guess I could say I was wrong on this point. I did not think Memphis was going to be competitive. I did
Mm,
not see. I just have seen so many teams start young, and maybe they have a young stud who does well. Even like look at the Hawks with Trey Young; they're still garbage, even though they have Trey
mm,
Young, an All Star. All right, so I've seen it time and time again where you get these teams, they're rebuilding, they get a couple young guys, they're still garbage for years. Sometimes they never even pull out of it. Like I think of the Suns, and I go, man, how come they have not pulled out of their hole yet? They have Devin
mm.
Booker, they got Aiton now, like they've Bridges, like Oubre, like they've had guys, they just can't win. So I've seen that happen so many times where I just sort of was like, Memphis is not going to compete. And what scares me more than anything else in fantasy basketball is teams that don't have incentive to compete. Scares the crap out of me.
Because they shut down players, right?
Yeah, and it's just the guy gets a little bit nicked up and he's out for weeks. It's the scariest thing for me. So when I saw Scott trading away Jokic, who he ended as a top 6 player, and and I've had him before, so I've seen his stats
Oh
firsthand, how consistent he is.
gosh.
I know he was like struggling a little bit about at the time, but I'm like, Scott, like this is a top 6 guy. There's a chance that by season's end, both of your guys, Morant and Valanciunas, may not be playing.
Mm,
Valanciunas, I've seen him being shut down multiple times when he was on the Raptors. He's never been a
mm,
guy who has been relied upon. He's always been that center that's kind of out of place or that can't really do what centers are supposed to do nowadays. And so he ends up getting benched for Ibaka multiple times or kind of phased in and out. And I've seen him, been nicked up and been essentially, load managed. So I thought it
mhm.
was going to be the same story. I thought he's going to be load managed. Memphis will be out of it. Morant, he could have some good games here and there, but if the moment he gets nicked up, they're going to have no reason to play him. They'll probably, bench him a few games at a time. Maybe towards the end, he's not playing at all. I mean, I've seen so many, like Devin Booker sat out, I think the year before last, he sat out like almost the whole second half of the season because it's just, why play him? You know what I mean? So I was so afraid of that I think that's what swayed me so hard to be like, now again, I didn't have a vote. I'm just going to say that right now. All I did was, me and Blake both agreed it was questionable enough. We gave to the committee. They made their final decision. Now, if I was in the committee, I would have voted to veto. Would have been the only veto I would have done all year. None of the other trades I thought were veto worthy, even though another one did get
I
vetoed.
agree.
I was against that being vetoed. But I thought it was the chance of giving up a top 6 guy for potentially 2 guys who, when you need the most in those playoff times, could both be out
Mhm.
completely. I was like, man, that's just the risk is, to me, was pretty insane. And so I just thought I thought it was too heavy a risk and too out there for me. Now, that being said, obviously Jonas finished as a top 12 guy, which again completely shocked me. I did not see that coming. And Morant was in the hundreds, so he had some good games and he did well. So looking back,
Mhm.
I think at the time, based on the information I had, I still, if I was in that same situation again, I'd probably do the same thing. But obviously, if I look back on it, if I knew what I knew now in hindsight, I probably would have let it go through because Valanciunas would have played till, because they were competitive. They were the seed. So all of a sudden now you have incentive to play guys. And I just did not think that was in the realm of possibility for them. And obviously I misjudged that situation because been they've done really well. It surprised me. So that was my big thing. That's probably what pushed me over the edge as far as why I would have said, "Hey, committee, you should probably veto this," kind of thing. So,
Got you. Yeah.
but
Everything.
I understand your argument about the numbers and different things like that. I was kind of more looking at it from just the whole tanking, and I even regret myself hanging on to LaMarcus Aldridge and Andre Drummond. My instinct at the trade deadline was like, get rid of these guys. These guys play for bad teams. they have no incentive to play these guys down the stretch. I didn't listen to that instinct, and I kept them both, and they both literally screwed me in the semifinals. They both have not played a game, and I literally had to abandon my whole team build. I had to toss out my entire team build in the semifinals, and I would lose if the season continued. I would lose to Cody. There's no doubt in my mind I would lose.
Wow, I didn't know that. Gosh, your team was really stacked too. I'm surprised that it lost or that it was going to lose. Well, okay, everything you said, it's sound logic, and I think it's fair. It's fair reasoning, right? But the problem I have is so early in a season, and like I said, okay, a commissioner, like I said before, you got to be a know-it-all, right? So you exhibited all of that, right? That's good. But you don't want to be arrogant. And here's the arrogance, in my opinion. You're calling the Memphis Grizzlies season a month into the season. Like, they're done. They're going to tank. Their players are going to shut down. And that's not fair. That's not fair to Scotty. You know, it's not your team, man. It's Scotty's team. Let him assess and manage the risk. If it is a risky move, so be it. That early in the season, you cannot make that call. If you make that call close to the All-Star break and Memphis is not doing well, then I totally understand. Then I'm all aboard your reasoning for vetoing that trade. Let's say, you know, Memphis was doing poorly this season and they were one of the prime teams that looked like they were going to shut down. Then by all means, you know, like I think a few years ago, everyone who was smart and into fantasy basketball knew they needed to sell like their son's players or something. There was like one tanking team that it was so obvious they were tanking, right? With Memphis, it was a month in the season. Like, we don't know. I know they don't look very good, you know, but like, it's just a month in the season. You got to let things play out. So I would have definitely, especially with trades early in the season, I definitely would have let it go.
It's a fair point. I am curious to know how, because have you looked at the date the trade was accepted? I don't know exactly how far into the year it happened. I thought it happened more than a month. I thought it happened more than a month in, but I could be wrong on that. I don't remember. It was one of the later. It was one of the later trades that was. It was one of the last couple of trades that was sort of accepted. I am curious to know the time frame of it, because maybe you're right. Maybe it was a month, but I feel like it was longer than that. But maybe not that much longer. But I see what you're saying with calling their season too early. That's a good point. That's definitely something I'll think about next time. It's like, hey, maybe they do have a chance to compete. I just feel like I had seen, you know, I'd been following them like I followed every team, you know, with the box scores and Roto World for years, and I've seen them be bad for many years, and ever since Jaeger left and they were the 8th seed that one year, and I just thought their track record showed, and the talent that I saw on the roster, I thought the track record showed that they weren't going to be good. So I feel like I used my best predictive, you know, powers that I had at the time. But you're right. Like, maybe if it's too early in the season, you're right. Like, things can change, and things did change. So that's a good point. It's definitely something I will consider in my analysis next time. And just saying, well, is this too early to call this team, you know, done? So I appreciate that feedback. That's I will definitely add that into my repertoire of analysis next time.
For sure, man. You being too polite right now. You need to say some bad words to me or something. Come on, man. I called you arrogant. Like, come on now.
That did strike me as like, how early am I? There is sort of an arrogance to, like, I was, you know, again, I don't necessarily think I was arrogant as much as I was just convinced, which I don't know if there's a difference between the two.
But your decision led to the committee, which led to his trade being vetoed, and that's not fair to Scott. So, or the other team. I forgot, who was the other team involved. Oh yeah, no, I remember. It's Payam and Sahand, and yeah, they've been talking about it all. Okay, yeah, those guys. Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, I understand why they were pissed, and I did my best to defend them. It didn't work, but yeah, man. I mean, I just think with trades early in the season, you gotta let them go. They don't have that much predictive. You don't have that much predictive power. Nobody does that early on in the season. I feel like, as things trend closer to the All-Star break, maybe after that point. Well, I don't know when the trade deadline is in your league, but is it after the All-Star break? A few weeks after that?
I think we chose not to have one at all this year because we thought, hey, we've got good owners and we also have the system in place that can sort of protect if there is sort of a weird trade at the end, like we'll know it'll get looked at. So I
Mm-hmm.
think we're like, well, just let people trade at the end. We trust owners and we have a system in place if need be. So why not let the funnest part of fantasy continue till the playoffs and just not have a trade deadline? So
So,
we didn't really have one.
so
You
you
could
got
have
a
traded
you got
all
a
until the playoffs.
you got a system in place. You trust owners, but you don't trust them enough to let them do their own deals. Come on, Tim. Come on,
I guess you're right.
Tim.
You're right. I don't
Come
have
on.
maybe I don't have
Yeah.
complete trust. I don't think you ever. That's the thing. I don't think you ever can have complete trust,
But
right? I
but
mean,
look,
because
if they want to run
then
their
you're that
team in the
guy
ground,
because then you're that guy with no line who says any trade can go through
but
when there always
you
has
don't
to
want
be
to
a line.
manage you don't want to micromanage other teams.
Of
You
course
got
not.
your own team to worry
Of
about,
course not.
right?
But
So you don't want to manage someone else's team and making their own decisions for them.
of course not. But people make mistakes, and I mean, why do we have a
Scott,
government?
hey, Scott was right.
Not to take this
Scott
way.
was right.
True, he
Scott was
was.
right. Tim, you were not correct on the outlook of the Memphis Grizzlies, and that was the biggest reason why you called that trade questionable, and you were wrong. So in the future, I think you got to dial back that predictive power you have and let owners facilitate and negotiate and manage their teams.
Okay, and then, again, I understand what you're saying. This is where maybe our disagreement just is, in that I don't want to be the guy who's just lets everything go, because I think, and I don't want to take this in this direction. I don't want to go this direction, by the way. But like, why do we as people, why do we have a government, right? Why do we have laws? Because we know
Mm.
that people are not perfect, and we need sort of a system that prevents our society from collapsing. I know that's like a total. I'm just saying, like, even in this fantasy league, like, no one's perfect. Like, we all make mistakes. It's nice to have a system in place, although we want to be as minimally intrusive as possible, which is why I've pushed for so many trades over the years to go through. I've been the guy who's like, no, let's let this trade go through, and stuff has still got vetoed even against what I've wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we've made a lot of strides as far as not vetoing stuff nearly as much as we used to, and being as least intrusive as we can. But there still is you need some level of oversight. And everyone argue. I mean, this is the argument we have in America, right? Some people want more oversight by the government. Some people want less. Some people love Trump because he's like getting rid of all this, regulation. Some people are like hate it because they're like, we need to have regulation over that, right? It's the crux argument of our time and of people is how much oversight do we need? And so I don't want to be the guy that says like we don't need any oversight at all, because I don't think that's realistic. But obviously, I want to find the
Well,
balance. I want to be
no one's
as
calling
minimally
for not.
intrusive with a little bit of oversight, and I'm working towards that. I'm not perfect, and I'm working towards that, and we're working the league towards that, towards being more open to trades. Because for a while we were pretty hardcore, like we wouldn't really much get through it all. So if you've seen our previous years, I think you'd be like, okay, they're making
Oh gosh,
strides.
yeah. See
So
that's a big problem. I think you gotta let. I think actually, this disagreement aside, I think I agree with your commissioner's style, but I mean, if you just said that you vetoed a lot of trades over the years, and maybe not. So yeah, I don't know. I just think maybe we have different styles, but that's okay. I mean, as being a fantasy owner, you have to realize what kind of league you're in too. So moving forward, I'll keep that in mind. That trades in this league are going to be heavily scrutinized. So
like I said, we're working.
but,
Like I said, if you've seen previous years, we've made a lot of improvements. We're not nearly as scrutinizing as we have been in the past. So if we're the Trump administration right now, that's like removing some regulation
oh
and
gosh,
freeing the pipes a little bit. Maybe not
maybe
as much as you
maybe
would like,
yeah,
but
maybe let's not talk about Trump.
sorry,
Let's
I was just using him as an example of
yeah, I
kind of
got you.
like the general, You want more oversight, you want less, more control, less
I th-
control. So
I think so.
but
You're more.
I think it's naive to say there's not a line though.
You're more of
right.
a you want more government regulation, right?
Well, not really, because I'm working towards having less. So, but
I'm
maybe
all about
more than
less.
you. Maybe more than you. I don't know.
No, I don't know. Yeah, maybe more than me, perhaps. Yeah, I'm all for less government regulation. So,
Well,
but
it's fine. It's funny because in fantasy, maybe I'm in favor a tad bit more, but then in reality, I'm usually the fan of the less when it comes to
dude,
politics.
it's interesting.
So,
People have called me a dictator before for vetoing trade. People have called me, you know, people have called me the worst things and have left my leagues and demanded refunds, and because I don't allow their trades to go through. You know that because when you veto a trade too, it's almost like you're slapping the person in the face in a moral way, right? Like in morally, like you're slapping in the face. You're like, you're dumb. I know more than you. You don't know what you're doing. You know, sit down. All this stuff, and it's so They find it so disrespectful that they fly off the handle. They're like, giving my money back. I don't want to be in this league anymore. Refund me. All this stuff. It's you have to be tactful when, and yeah, this is the biggest problem with, as a commissioner. I think we both understand that is with trades, and especially with vetoing trades, you gotta be tactful with the person because you don't want to disrespect them, and that's like inherently what you're doing by vetoing a trade is you're disrespecting their take on the player values and the way they're seeing the sport differently than you are, right? And you're saying, okay, my point has more validity, more merit than everyone. I'm going to use my power to put down your takes, and people will see it that way. That's gonna burn some bridges sometimes, and it definitely has in my league because I've had to, over the years, I've had to dial back how much of a dick I am to people. You know, I am still a dick. I am still an asshole. I'm sorry. Stop cussing. My bad. But like, I used to be even worse, if you could believe that. I mean, people would be really pissed off in my leagues. And do I have regrets? No, because if I go back, I could show you how dumb some of those trades were. But still, I could have handled it differently. That's the key. And yeah,
I think
we
that's
live in.
why I so far I've enjoyed, and some of our core people and most of our core people have enjoyed. Like, I like having multiple people involved in the decision. I like having not just me being because I know that I'm only one perspective, and my perspective can be wrong. But if I can get other people's perspective and combine them, then we can paint like a pretty accurate picture of what's going on, or at least the most accurate that we can get, which is why I like kind of the democratic process of, okay, I'm not going to necessarily be I get to decide what I think is egregious and not. I'm going to, let other people that have, been trusted and been in the league a while to, all put our perspectives in the mix and see if we can paint an accurate picture and then make the best decision we can. And that's kind of why I have the trade system. Now, I like your idea of switching it up, and I have been promoting a lot this year. Like, hey, if you want to be in the trade committee, please, we can re-vote for the trade committee every year and
Oh, throw
have
me in,
new
man.
people
I'd
in.
love to be in it.
Like I'm in favor of that too. Like that's democracy, right? Like we all
Yeah.
have a choice to vote in who represents us. Like, hey, we want this mayor because we know this mayor is going to represent us well in bigger meetings, and so we vote for the mayor. And
That's
so
me.
in a
That's
way,
me,
it's like,
bro.
yeah,
Mayor Shahin.
and I would love to see some new people in the trade committee. Not that the trade committee people are bad, but just get some fresh blood, some fresh perspective in there. And there might be some people who are a little bit more
Let's get Tyler
pro-trade
out.
and
Let's
more
get
people that are
Tyler out.
pro-veto. And hopefully we have enough in the committee to kind of balance it to where we get some good perspectives.
Just swap me for Tyler. Let's just do that. Just swap me for Tyler.
But I do think that just, I guess, try to understand the people that are in the committee right now are some of our core people who have been there for a while. And so we've
For
seen a
sure.
lot of, I think we've been hurt. I think that's maybe why you see us as, oh man, we're a little bit more controlling, because I think we've been hurt too many times by too many different owners to where we're like more like protective, because we've been hurt too many times. We don't want to be hurt
I
again.
got you.
And so we kind of maybe go a little too far. I think. And
So
that's why I would like to get
let
some
me
fresh
ask:
blood in there.
is the correct response to being hurt by past trades to be more stringent on trade review, or is it to perhaps do better screening for incoming owners?
That's a good point.
Because if you're bringing in knowledgeable people, you're going to have less of these issues. You're not going to have
True.
blatant uh, blatant crazy trade veto discussions, because you're going to have people who understand player value, understand the scoring settings, the league settings, and you're not going to have much of a fuss. But if you keep bringing in noobs like Shahin and Payam and apparently this Scotty kid, I'm sure he's a great kid, but every year we're talking about how his questionable decision making. I don't know. Look, I'm just saying, if we bring in some better owners and maybe screen them, maybe ask some questions first, like, hey, you're interested in our league? I'm going to give you like this 12-bit questionnaire of Tim, give me your fantasy experience. What was the best trades you've done? I've had to do this to bring people into my
do you
leagues.
have tests? Do you have tests to get some people in your leagues?
Yeah, dude. I asked them straight up questions like, if you want to join an IDP league, for example, do you know what that is?
Yeah, defensive player.
Defensive player,
I
right?
would suck
I
in it.
want to know. I want to know if you understand player value. So I want to ask you, for example, what do you think of Mike Williams for Bobby Wagner? I want you to break that deal down, you know, and then
Ooh, interesting.
I want to hear what they have to say. Then, like, if it's a salary cap league, I'll throw in, what do you think of, hypothetically, uh, Mike Williams on a 4-year deal at $5 million per, compared to Bobby Wagner, 2 years at $6 million per with a second round pick? Which side would you take and why? You know, some of my favorite leagues are salary cap contract leagues, and I have to ask those questions because I don't want the guy to come in and not know what the hell is IDP is, what the hell the salary cap is, you know, what is going on. Like, I have to get these guys trained or have some experience coming in. And if you are a noob, I have no problem with that. But I am going to screen you with a bunch of questions, and I'm going to ask you that you do your research, that you take it seriously, and that you show commitment to the league in terms of like broadening your knowledge for football. You know, if you're just kind of try to treat it like a leagues, you have to be active. You have to like a little bit of trash talk. A lot of my league chats have a lot of trash talking, and you have to commit yourself to doing some research on players, and because my leagues are crazy, man. The settings are all over the place. You got to know what you're doing. They're not like standard leagues. Like, have you ever played in a Superflex league?
I have not played in one, but I've heard about them. And I play in a lot of 2-quarterback football leagues, but I've heard that you can do the Superflex is quarterback too, right? So
Dude,
if you
they're
want to
the
build
best.
that way, you can, right?
There you
Is that
go.
right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, longer do. You kind of get over the years. If you've listened to a lot of fantasy I don't know, experts, I guess you could call them experts. There's one guy named JJ Zacharyson, and years ago he penned this really famous article on why you should take quarterbacks in 1 QB leagues as late as you can.
Yep.
Like, as late as you can. Like, do not take quarterbacks early. It's like a suboptimal move for so many reasons. And I was actually doing that before he penned that article, which is crazy. So I was like, okay, quarterback scoring is always pretty concentrated at it's pretty, it pretty much
It's
all looks
more
the
it's
same.
more there's not as much scarcity. There's not as much.
Right.
It's not like one guy puts up 250 and the next guy puts up 150. It's like next guy maybe 247, next guy 243,
Exactly.
next guy
Exactly.
39.
Exactly. The
The drop
drop
off isn't.
off that isn't that high from player to player. So you could take, Philip Rivers in the 15th round, and you're okay. You could not take a quarterback the entire draft and stream quarterback. I've won leagues without taking a quarterback at all in a draft and just streaming. I've streamed Blake Bortles to a league championship. I've streamed Nick Foles to a league championship. I've taken guys off the wire at quarterback while guys are taking, Tom Brady in the first round and losing. I've done that. I think my favorite one was a few years ago in my friend's redraft league. The last pick of the draft, I was the first pick, and so I had the last pick of the draft, and I picked Patrick Mahomes. And that was the year he broke out. So that was my last pick, was Patrick Mahomes, and I had Todd Gurley and Christian McCaffrey as my first two picks in that draft. So I just blew up. I don't think I lost one game, but I outscored everyone by like 300 points. It was just a blowout the entire season. And
Dang, there you go.
yeah. So like people didn't know about Patrick Mahomes, obviously, because it was going to be his first year starting. I didn't know about him either. I didn't think he was going to blow up like that. I liked him coming out of Texas Tech, but like, holy crap, he was amazing, right? But the point is, you like someone's potential, take him late. Don't reach on him in the 6th, 7th, 8th round when you could stock up on running backs and wide receivers. And I forget. I forget why I mentioned all.
I think we were talking about the super flex.
Oh right, yeah. So anyway, I don't do one QB leagues anymore for that reason. So quarterbacks are a dime a dozen.
Do them still because my brother does like a family league that I'll do because it's family. Mm-hmm. But most of the time I'm like, one quarterback's boring, dude. Like, get me out of here.
Oh yeah, for sure. Any new leagues I join nowadays are super flex or 2 QB because QBs are important. You have to draft them pretty early because you have to have 2 of them on a team, and they really. The price for them is way higher than in one QB league. It's like if you want to trade me a quarterback in one QB league, I don't really care, But in the super flex, it's totally a different story. So it's just a totally different game, and I'm all about super flex leagues. And in fact, this Lord of the Rings league that you're joining, just letting you know, it's IDP and it's super flex. So you're going to have some fun, buddy.
Hold on a second here. It's defensive players?
Some fun. Let's go.
Is it all defensive players? Or is there like one? You said IDP.
Yes, sir. You have to.
Yeah, I can't be in the league.
Not all.
Sorry. I'm not a defensive guy. I don't know defense. I would get my behind smoked.
Oh, wait, come on.
If you need an owner, I might try it for a year. It's only $20, but I'm just telling you, man.
No, Tim,
I don't usually follow the defense much.
It's not bad. All right, let me just break down the starting lineup. I don't either. You know what you have to do? You have to do for IDP, just look at snap counts. Just look at who's on the field more than anyone else. That's all you need to do. You're not looking at any stats or anything like that, man. You're just looking at who is playing, who is on the field. Right. Mm-hmm. So, for example, Danny Trevathan went down for the Chicago Bears last year. He's their starting linebacker, right? And then this kid came in named Nick Kwiatkowski, right? And he started playing as soon as Trevathan went down, 85% of the snaps in the middle of their defense. And he became a solid waiver wire pickup for linebacker if you wanted a linebacker. And he carried me in a few leagues. Now, that's the type of pickup you make in IDP leagues. You figure out the linebacker who, because of injury, gets an opportunity and is playing more than 80% of snaps on his team. That's kind of the target line. You want someone playing 80 to 90%. 90, obviously 90 plus is a full-time starter. That's like a Bobby Wagner. He never comes off the field, like a Luke Kuechly, who retired, which sucks, but good for
super
him.
Sad. Great guy.
But yeah, dude, it's not hard. Trust me, Tim. You are a smart guy. You know your football. IDP, trust me, it is not hard, bro. It's not hard. There are.
Let me think about it. Let me think about it because I know that I could figure it out, but I would have to put some more time into watching and looking at defensive stats, and I need to decide whether or not I'm willing to do that.
let me break down the start. Let me break down the starting lineup for you. The rosters are 55.
I'm probably not going to know half of them, but go for it.
The rosters are 55 men deep. So the starting lineup is quarterback, super flex, running back, wide receiver, flex,
it's a full squad. Holy. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Flex, tight end, corner, safety, defensive end, defensive tackle, linebacker, and then IDP flex.
Oh snap, dude! That sounds dope. Okay, I actually do like the sound of that because I didn't realize I thought it was just defensive players only, and I'm like, oh man.
No,
But
man.
but
I
now
would not put in a league
now it's
like
just a full
that.
squad. That makes things a little more intriguing for me. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna lie.
absolutely. All the IDP leagues I do, it's not just IDP players. I think that would be really boring if the first overall pick is Aaron Donald. Like that's great. And a defense only league, I'm sure that's for some people. That's not for me.
I tried
Every
it one
IDP,
year and only 1 year.
no, yeah. I think I've done it before once too, and I wasn't into it. But yeah, it's a mixture of IDP players and offensive players, and it's a 55-man roster. So it's a huge roster with a 10-man taxi squad and a 10-man injured reserve. So this is as deep as it gets.
Dang, okay. Okay. That actually does sound pretty interesting. I've never done a full squad league like that before. That sounds pretty dope. I may be actually interested in that. I like the sound of that.
Don't tease me like this, man. You keep
I
going back
know.
and forth.
Sorry, okay.
Come
No commitment
on.
right now. No commitment right now. Give me
No
some
commit.
time.
All right.
Let me know when you need to know by, and I'll sort of think about it and ponder it and because I will have to I try only now. I've cut down my leagues quite a bit because I notice, especially if I'm like working and stuff too, if I have too many, then they'll all suffer. And I'm very
For sure.
competitive, so I want to win the ones that I do. So I would need to think through. I usually always do my family league, but I don't put a ton of time into it. I always do my own redraft league with the same group. I do. What's the other one I do? I did one with some guys, but I don't know if I'll do that one again. So maybe that could be the replacement for it.
There you go, man. You
Okay.
you said you want to do a dynasty league, so this
I
is it.
do. I do. I wasn't expecting a full squad dynasty though, so I'm a bit nervous. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little. Whew, could I do that? I don't know. I'm sure I
Yes,
could,
you
but
can. Yes,
let me
you
think
can.
about it. But I'm definitely interested.
For
Definitely
sure.
interested.
For sure. We will once we fill the league, we're at 5 people right now. Once we get 7 more, or I mean I put you in as one. So once we get 6 more, we will start the dispersal draft and hopefully finish that before the NFL draft, and then we can all participate in the rookie draft. So
Okay, cool. The fact that it's Lord of the Rings too, I'm like, okay, I feel like it's too good to pass up. That's too
oh,
too
that's
that's
great,
too
man. I
me.
didn't know you were a nerd.
That's too
I'm a,
me. Oh, major. I
yeah,
feel like
me too.
I feel like I can bridge the gap. I feel like I'm the bridge gapper between nerds and jocks because I feel like I can live in both worlds. I can live the jock life where I can tell you every stat. I'm good at every sport, but then like I love like nerdy Lord of the Rings, Black Mirror. Like give me some like I play DC deck building all the time. Like give me
Oh, nice.
some nerd
That's a good
status
game.
too. So I can play in both worlds.
Yeah, for sure. I always thought people have told me about that too. They said, yeah, well, actually, they call me a sports nerd. So I know they say I'm a nerd for a bunch of things. I am. I'm a huge nerd for comic books, anime, manga, video games. I don't really watch TV shows that much, but like I'm really into Better Call Saul right now. I'm a
Oh,
huge
great show.
Breaking Bad fan. Great
Great
show,
show.
right?
Love
Yeah.
that
Are you
show.
up to date?
I'm all up to date.
Oh gosh, it's awesome, isn't it? Great season so far.
They do a great job in that show of just like not using music very much, and so you just get these really dry scenes, but they're just full of so much suspense. Where you're like
Oh, for sure.
you're just
Yeah.
riveted, and but you don't have to like. I can't stand shit like my mom. Sometimes I'll go while she's watching a show, and they have to use all this music and changes all the time to try to make things dramatic.
Mhm.
And I'm like, ugh, like you don't. It's like almost like they're trying too hard, or they don't know how to create a scene without they can't do it without music. And I'm like, if a show can do it without music, where you can create that suspense, I'm all about it. Like Homeland, I'm really into Homeland right now, and they have that
Mhm.
all the time where you just get these like really intense long scenes with no music, and you're just like riveted. You can't leave the screen because they just do such a good job of that silence, man. It's magical when you know how to use it. So I'm right there with you, dude. Better
For
Call Saul
sure.
is a great show. Great
Oh
show.
yeah, one of the best on TV right now. I think actually like I've asked a lot of people about it recently because of the season going on, and I've noticed a lot of people don't like the show because of just the like what you just said, right? The detail and like the fact that Better Call Saul takes its time in every scene. Like they'll just be scenes with Mike just eating a sandwich or something for like 4 minutes. He's just sitting there eating a sandwich or something. Or like there'll be a scene of like a courtroom where just nobody is talking. In fact, I think the first episode of the show was a bunch of people in a courtroom, and I think the first line of dialogue was like 3 minutes into the show. That's the pilot of the show, showing you a courtroom, right? Where nobody's doing anything. What kind of show does that? Like the most
a show that has a
action
lot of
going on.
guts. A show that has a lot of
Oh
guts in
yeah,
what it knows. It's confident what it is, and it doesn't
it
need all
takes
these
its time.
fake
It takes
stuff.
its time. It doesn't care about trying to speed up anything. It lets its characters breathe in a
Mm.
scene. Like if someone's sitting down having a coffee, you're going to see them enjoy the coffee and then talk to the person pouring their coffee and all this stuff. You're going to see all those interactions. But like they also don't give you really anything either. When you think about all these characters, you don't really know their backstory all that well at all. It's just it's really interesting to me. I love the show, man. I mean, I really just want to know what happens to Kim, though.
Well, I feel like we all know
But
we all know what happens, right? Because we've seen Breaking Bad, but we
well,
don't
she's
know.
never. Yeah, we don't know what happens to
Yeah, we
her.
don't know
We don't.
how it happens. We know it happens, but we don't know what. And so we're just you keep getting all these false alarms. Where you're like, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
this is where it
you
happens,
keep
and then
saying you keep saying
no.
it as if she's gonna die. I don't know if she's gonna die. Okay, I don't want that to happen. I just want her to go away. Like maybe if she goes into a different state or something and they break up, and I would be totally fine with that. But you're saying it as if Kim Wexler is dead in Breaking Bad, and I don't think that's the case. We just don't see her.
No, I'm just trying to be as ambiguous as possible because I don't want to blow
For
anything
sure,
for you.
for sure, for sure, for sure. Yeah. Well, I
Now,
hope nothing.
are you an Ozark fan?
Okay, so that is the show that people have been telling me to watch because I mentioned I like Breaking Bad, um, Mad Men, Better Call Saul, Boardwalk Empire, Sopranos, The Wire. Those are the shows I've liked. And people say, okay, you would like Ozark. And I'm like, okay, what's it about? And they said it's money laundering, right?
Yeah, so you got this super genius basically named Marty Bird, who
Mm-hmm.
such a phenomenal character. He is drug laundering for the cartel, and I don't want to tell you anything because just watch the first episode and you'll be
Okay,
hooked.
okay,
Because the first
okay.
episode puts you on the edge of like you're like, oh my, oh god, like oh man, it kills you that first episode. But I think if those are the shows you're into, Ozark for me is very similar on it's along the lines of the Breaking Bad, the Better Call. It's not quite as dry and not quite as many long scenes as some of those, but it's the same premise where they have these scenes that really they just really hold things and or like Marty will be thinking about something and they'll let it play. Him just, thinking about it or something, or they just, yeah, like I said, they let everybody breathe and they let everybody develop and not have to, they don't try to rush it. Very similar. So I think you
I've
would
heard
like
good
it.
things about the show, but the reason why I have not checked it out yet is it's actually kind of a funny reason. I just don't like Jason Bateman for some reason. There's something about his face, and
He's the main character, right? I don't know actors'
yeah,
names super well.
yeah, Jason Bateman is
He's Marty
the.
Bird.
I think so, and
Okay.
I just for some reason I just don't like him. It's almost an irrational uh, reason why I don't know why I don't like him so much. There really isn't anyone else where they annoy me as much as he does. I don't get it. Why do people like him? Maybe because I never watched Arrested Development. Maybe if I watched that
Neither did
show,
I.
I remember people saying it's really funny and I should check it out. But if maybe I had watched that show, I would have liked Jason Bateman. But I saw him in a bunch of movies and I was like, I mean, this guy is so bland. Why is this guy considered a comedian? Why is this guy considered a good actor? Why is he in so many movies? Why does he keep getting work? I don't know. He always just annoyed me.
Why
And
does he
that's
keep
the
getting work?
Yeah, that's like the question you asked Nicolas Cage. Like, how does Nicolas Cage keep getting work? How do you keep getting movies, man? You've done like 500 movies. Like, how do you keep doing this, Nick Cage? You're a horrible actor. And that's kind of how
I
I view
agree with you
Jason
there.
Bateman.
He's bad.
But I don't know. Maybe I'm not being fair to Jason Bateman. I'm sure
Give
he's
Ozark
pretty
a
solid.
chance. It might sway your opinion, or it might
I will.
convince you of the
I will.
same. I tried to get into Arrested Development, and it wasn't quite. It was
It's
funny. I thought it was
it's
funny,
pretty
but it just
funny.
wasn't my type of humor. It was very super sarcastic humor. That show, super sarcastic,
Super dry. Yeah, for
and I'm
sure.
like, some is, I feel like The Office is kind of that way, but The Office is, I don't know, it's not as dry, but it's definitely in that realm. But I like Office is fantastic, hilarious.
Yeah, it is.
But
I
yeah,
love
just
The Office.
just one of those things that wasn't quite for me. I'm not a big sitcom guy anyway. Like the only sitcom I'll pretty much ever watch is How I Met Your Mother. No other sitcoms appeal to, like I'd rather hang out with my friends than just watch other people hang out. If that makes sense. Like I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
But there's like How I Met Your Mother is one. I'm like, I love it. There's characters are too good, and I love all the different stuff that they do, because you get ideas. Like we've actually copied some of the stuff that they've done from the show and done it with our friends, in the real world. So shows like that are
I'm
cool. Give
not
good
I'm
inspiration.
not a sitcom guy either, but I grew up watching Seinfeld with my parents, and
Hmm.
I've watched every episode multiple times. So that's a show I've definitely I think that would consider my favorite sitcom. But I was never really into sitcoms, man. Like Friends, I didn't watch Friends that
Dude,
much.
neither did I.
I didn't watch any of those Disney Channel shows or anything like that. I was not into sitcoms, man. I mean, like I remember when I was young, I would watch Cheers with my dad. I kind of dig that show, to be honest. Cheers wasn't bad. Um,
But so
but like
you never saw Disney shows like That's So Raven or Lizzie
no,
McGuire or
no,
none of those.
uh-uh, nope.
Okay.
I think the only one I kind of watched was the Shia LaBeouf one, Even
Oh,
Stevens.
Even Stevens is the best, dude. I love that.
Yo,
I've been
that
rewatching that show on Disney Plus. I love that show.
oh, I forgot. Malcolm in the Middle. I watched that show.
Oh, another one. Love that
Yes,
show as well.
that's a good show. I mean, Bryan Cranston. How could you?
Dude, I was about to say the same thing. Bryan Cranston's incredible in that one. He's
I
absolutely
that
incredible.
yeah, he's so funny, and it just makes everything so much funnier when you watch Breaking Bad and you realize, wait, this is Hal. Like I just kept thinking, like, oh my gosh, it's Hal.
He
He's so
he
bad.
I love those actors that have that just crazy versatility where I can go from literally
I
being
had
this
no idea he could do that.
goofball idiot doofus dad who's hilarious to like literally being this like badass, just cold, you know, teacher who's angry all the time and has cancer and becomes a
Sure.
drug
Yeah.
leader and,
Desperate.
just murders
Yeah.
people. It's so cool. Just that you can go that range
Just
and be
awesome,
believable
man.
in both parts is those is actors like that are pretty incredible.
Yeah.
But
Much
I
respect
admire the
for
actors
Bryan
too.
Cranston.
The Kiefer Sutherlands who can only pretty much do one role, but they can do it so good. I admire that too. Unless they go outside and they try to do other stuff, and you're like, no, 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 you're good at your one thing. Just keep doing that.
Well, you know what's funny is I'm always I agree with that. It's funny to see people like they're kind of typecast as a certain role most of their careers, and then they do something else. But it's really surprising when they do something else and they actually do well at it. So I don't know if you've seen this movie recently, but Uncut Gems by Adam Sandler. Um, he did a really good job. I mean, we've known him as a comedian in most of, I'm sure you grew up watching Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore,
Yep.
Waterboy. Those are great movies. And I'm not really an Adam Sandler guy, but I loved those movies. Now, he did this movie. He played a serious role as a degenerate gambler, which I kind of recognize with. But um, so, anyways, the role was great. He did a
Uh,
great job, and I highly recommend watching that movie. Also because Julia Fox is in it and she's really hot.
hmm. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I'm like you. Some of those Adam Sandler movies are phenomenal. Happy Gilmore is probably one of my all-time favorites, but for the most part, I think Adam Sandler, and I'm like, ugh, I don't really want to watch his
Exactly, right?
movies, because he just always
My
plays the
exact
same
thoughts,
same
my
kind of.
exact sentiments. I did not think. I was like, okay, Adam Sandler has a serious role. I'm not gonna. I don't want to watch this. And then I read some reviews and I was like, holy shit, he killed it. I'm gonna watch it. Let's try it out. Like, and he did, man. He did a great job. It was a good movie, and it's about basketball. It's about gambling in basketball.
Ooh, okay.
So Kevin Garnett is in the movie. Kevin
Oh,
Kevin Garnett is the whole reason why he makes all these crazy bets. It's so crazy, man. It's such a chaotic movie. You're probably gonna get a headache from listening to everyone just yell at each other the entire movie. But it's great. It's a good movie.
okay. I'll give Adam Sandler because yeah, it's good that he can make that trans. I think it's about time he made that transition. He's been like mooching with these, what are those movies that came out recently? Like he's the
Grown ups,
yeah,
grown
yeah.
ups or
I'm
something.
like, dude, like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
gotta
yeah,
find something else, man. You're killing
for
me with
sure.
these movies.
Yeah, I
Do
never really
something
liked him.
else.
Yeah, I never really thought he was all that funny, but I just loved those movies growing up. But I'm not gonna also. I
Classic.
just want to say this: Uncut Gems was a good movie, and I thought his performance was good. But do I think that after seeing that, Adam Sandler could transition into a serious role in most of his movies? I still don't think so. I just think the role that he played um, was just really well done by him, and probably one of the only serious roles he could play. And I think when you watch the movie, you'll realize why he did a good job with it. But yeah, that's all I'll say. I don't know. I don't know if I would expect watching him in serious roles from now on. I just don't see it. Sorry, Adam.
Sorry, bud, if you're listening. Sorry. You know who also I can't remember the show off the top of my head. It came into Netflix probably about gosh 5-6 months ago, and it was okay. Hold on, let's see if I can works my brain magic here. The show, it's a famous movie. It's a comedy with. Oh no, I'm giving you nothing right now. Gosh dang it. Okay, maybe I shouldn't talk about it since I don't. There's a movie that this famous comedian. It's like he's one of the chubbier comedians with like big old curly hair. Always plays like the funny roles, the funny doofus. I don't know how long I should keep trying before I give up on this.
Seth
Super
Rogen,
nerd, super trooper. No, no.
Jonah
Um,
Hill,
yes, yes. Thank you. So Jonah Hill,
super,
who is only
super
known for
bad.
just playing this total like goofball, loser in all his movies. He was in this one recently. He was in a show recently on Netflix where he plays a super, super serious role. And it was kind of where he's essentially like a mentally ill son of this family that he is trying to get away from.
Hmm.
And I was kind of surprised too. I was like, whoa, this is so weird to see this guy in a serious role. It was kind of cool though. I enjoyed seeing him. I thought he did an okay job. I wouldn't say it's amazing, but it's cool to see those actors do that. And you're like, oh man, it's cool. This whole other side of them that they can do and not be this weird goofball. It's cool to. I like when actors do that. Just go because he's the
You
exact opposite of what he normally does.
is the show called Maniac?
Yes, something like that. That sounds really familiar.
Yeah, I just looked it up, and I think that's what it is. I mean, it's Jonah Hill. He did a Netflix psychological dark comedy web television series. Yeah,
Yeah,
it sounds like it, right?
for sure that's the one.
Yeah,
But
I'll check it out. That sounds cool.
it was a good show. I liked it. Anything dark psychological I'm into. Black Mirror is probably my all time favorite show.
Oh yeah, dude. I like Black Mirror because it reminds me of the Twilight Zone. I used to watch that growing up. I was really into sci-fi, obviously because I'm a huge nerd. Yeah, I was gonna say, man. I always people always said that I bridge the gap between jocks and nerds too because I'm so into sports, but I'm also into the most nerdy stuff you can imagine. So like, I mean, it's easy for people to call me a nerd, but then like I don't know. I feel like I mean, back then before I got out of shape, I was pretty good playing sports. I could run around and pretty good basketball player. Um, and I felt like there are not a lot of people in high school who are really into sports and like really into comic books, for example. Like
Yeah.
I didn't find that many people like that.
There's not many. It's usually one or the other. But
Yeah,
takes
for
people
sure.
with who are like, I don't care. I'll do both things. I love. I would love to do in the future, if this is something you're interested in, Sheen, I want to do a full podcast series on Black Mirror episodes, because I think you could do a whole podcast just on one episode, because they're so freaking good and they bring up so many good potential future
I've I've
inventions.
I've seen
And
five. I've seen 5 episodes of Black Mirror, and they're usually because they're episodic. They're a mixed bag. Sometimes you get a good episode, sometimes you get a bad one. I saw like a few bad ones, but I saw one. It was called, I think, White Bear. I don't know if you've seen
oh
it.
yes, I know what
Holy
you're talking about.
crap! Yeah, that one stayed with me. Now I could talk about that for an hour. That was a trip, and I love episodes like that. I mean, yeah. So out of like 5 episodes, I think I enjoyed 2 of them, and the 3 of them were pretty meh. But White Bear always it stuck with me, and yeah, I mean, now that there's so much downtime, everyone has so much free time with this coronavirus thing going on. I got to check out Ozark. I got to check out some more Black Mirror episodes. Twilight Zone is actually back on Netflix, I think, which is cool.
That's pretty sweet.
There's a lot of stuff that I could watch, but like normally, if there was like none of this coronavirus thing going on, I would really not be watching too many TV shows. And I mean, to
Yeah,
be honest, I haven't been playing many video games lately or watching anime. I've actually been reading manga a lot and comic books, so I've been reading a lot.
hmm.
But now we have all this time. I'm starting to get back into TV shows and video games and stuff. I'm playing Red Dead Redemption 2, and
Solid.
I rewatched some of the seasons of Better Call Saul because I forgot some of the things that happened, so to prepare for this new season. So I did that, and I'm starting to pick up some new TV shows, and I think Ozark is going to be my next one because you are like the fifth person to tell me that it's a good show and I should watch it, and I should ignore my hatred for Jason Bateman.
uh, yeah, you should. Tell me what you think. Give the first episode a shot. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the
Got you,
feature.
for sure.
Sheen, we should probably call it, but dude, I've honestly, this has been awesome. I feel like I keep talking. We can keep talking for days, dude. I have so many more things to talk about, but it is getting late. But I just want to thank you for having you on the show, and thank you for sharing
Sure.
your honest thoughts and opinions, and thanks for keeping it G-rated as well. I appreciate that a lot. And I'm sure this won't be our last pod together. I have plenty of free. We're gonna have another whole month of this whole quarantine thing, so I'll probably have you on for another one here. Pretty soon here, next couple weeks.
Yeah,
But I
man.
hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed your time, man. Honestly, I loved picking your brain about. I had no idea how much commission experience that you've had. So I have a lot more respect for you. I have a lot of, not that I didn't have respect for you, but I have more respect for you than I did because I've seen now how much knowledge and how much experience you have, and how much
Thank you.
you know
Thank you.
about how I feel as a commissioner, because you've been through it a million times over as well.
Hmm.
So I think it's cool that although we don't like agree 100%, I feel like we agree on most stuff, which is cool. So, and
Yeah,
I
man.
definitely
I
I'd like your
really,
ideas as well. I appreciate the idea. I like the
I
idea
really
of
enjoyed
switching up the
this.
trade committee. I like that one a lot.
Hmm.
Just
I
get
really
some
enjoyed
fresh.
this, Tim. Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I'm actually surprised that how the time flew by. I was actually expecting to talk about the NFL, so maybe
Dude,
you
I
could
know.
bring me on.
So
Maybe
funny
bring me
story.
on for
funny
next
story.
time. Yeah.
Funny story. Was ever watching this? We had planned ahead of time. We were going to pretty much talk NFL the whole time. But I always kind of, whenever I'm doing a podcast, I'll have it planned, but then I'll usually start out and ask a couple of questions, and then if it goes in a different direction, I'll just kind of let it, because I just like, oh,
That's
okay,
great.
no, this is going this direction. Okay, cool. Okay, forget it. We can
Yeah,
always talk about that
we
another
did
day.
not talk about the NFL at all.
We didn't talk about the NFL one bit, but honestly, I'm happy with where it went, because I think we covered some really cool stuff
Yeah, for sure.
on all the
I'd love
different
to
like
talk to you
teams and
about.
commission and stuff.
I'd love to talk to you about football, though. I was really excited about that. So yeah, bring me on. I'm excited if you bring me on next time, and we could do that.
Okay, we'll definitely will. I'm gonna sign off. You don't have to log off right away. I'm just gonna stop the recording here in a second. But anyway, if you have listened to this, if you're still listening to this right now, I just want to say, if you want to be on a pod, let me know. I love picking people's brains. I know that every person has an area that they're knowledgeable about, an area that they're passionate for. And I would love to, even if it's something I'm not particularly knowledgeable about or passionate about, that's fine. I'd love to pick your brain about it. So if you're listening to this right now and you want to be on a pod and you have something to share, whether it's, a love of comic books or botany or, whatever, there's so many things so that we could all research if we put the time into. So there's something, you have value that you could bring to the show. So I'd love to have you on. So if you listen to this, like and subscribe, hit me up if you want to be on a pod. Shahin, again, great to have you. I'm going to sign off here in a second, but stay on because we have some off the record stuff we need to talk about real quick.
Sure,
All right, guys, have
thanks
a
for
good
having
one
me.
on the pod, and we'll see you next time.